What is good, YouTube? This is Utility Sports, and today's video we are going to be going over some hidden gems that are in the NBA draft, this upcoming draft that will be taking place here in November. The first prospect I'd like to bring up is Jaden McDaniels, and Jaden McDaniels is a very, very interesting prospect. He's a little raw, however, that's why he is in this hidden gem video. At Washington, he kind of lacked overall consistency. He did not shoot very well from the field. It was about 40%. And from three, it was about 33, 34%. But the thing that's really interesting about him is he is 6'10", and he has a 7-foot wingspan at the forward position. I think his game translates to him being a three. He doesn't really have the play strength necessarily to be a four in this league, but he has tremendous scoring potential. He has a lot in his bag when it comes to the offensive portion of his game. He has great length, as I mentioned, with that 7-foot wingspan, and he's a phenomenal athlete. You just watch him. He's the best athlete on the floor pretty much no matter what game he was a part of this past season. Another thing about him is he's able to handle the ball. He handles the ball fluidly. Honestly, that's a big part of Stars games is a lot of the big time guys can handle the rock. And the thing that kind of hurts him is he's not a playmaker necessarily for others, but he can handle the rock himself, get to his spots and score. So in a league that's all about buckets, I think that really is a big thing for him. A lot of teams are going to be kind of salivating over the fact that they could land a guy that's 6'10" and can dribble. That's very, very rare, obviously. I kind of see him somewhat like Michael Porter Jr. with the skill set overall. He does have some defensive upside, however. If you watch some of the tape on him, he's able to get weak side blocks, and he's pretty agile on his feet defensively. The big thing about him is he lacks that consistency. Now, it's easier said than done to just become more consistent. I don't know if it's a mental approach or if it's just him not, being talented enough to string together multiple great plays. However, that's kind of the issue with him. He did get benched this year. That's something worth noting. Him and his coach at Washington kind of got into an argument. He was benched, so I'm sure during the pre-draft that's going to hurt him quite a bit. Just being benched and NBA teams speaking with his coach about his overall game, personality, all that's going to kind of factor in. So he better kind of watch out. Unfortunately for him, that's going to be tough to kind of get past that. And how do you answer that question? So that's what he's going to have to try to figure out and deal with during this pre-draft stuff. My second prospect that is a hidden gem is Jahmi'us Ramsey, who is a 6'4" guard from Texas Tech. Chris Beard over there at the Texas Tech program has been pushing out NBA players. We saw Jarrett Culver last year. Now we see Jahmi'us Ramsey, who I see as a 3-level scorer at the next level. He shot very, very well from three, shot about 42-43% from beyond the arc. So very, very good shooting potential from three. And he can shoot the mid-ranger, and he can get to the rim. So honestly, there's a lot to like about him. He's a pretty efficient shooter, like I had mentioned. Another thing about him is that he does have the size and the length. Now, with the 6'4" frame at the guard position, he also brings a 6'10" wingspan. Some guards that we've kind of seen with this sort of build, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was 6'6", I believe, going in. However, his game translated very well because he had that near 7-foot wingspan. So Jahmi'us Ramsey is a phenomenal prospect. He has all the tools. He can handle the ball as well. He's a little more stiff in terms of handling the rock, but this guy knows how to get his shots. He knows how to get a bucket. And like I said, ultimately in this league, it's about getting a bucket. Would like to see him work on playmaking. The same thing kind of with McDaniels. Would like to see a little more consistency from Ramsey. Also, it's the 6'4" frame for him. Is he a tweener? Is he a point guard? Is he a shooting guard? I see him translate more to the shooting guard position. He's not a playmaker to be the point guard. So I definitely see him being a 2 at the next level. And I think teams would be very, very lucky to get him as for sure a bench scorer in the draft. And he definitely has a lot of tools to transcend into a starter or even beyond that. even a better player. So Jahmi'us Ramsey is a really, really interesting prospect that's kind of been flying under some of the radars of the media, and I believe some of the teams. It's hard to know without actually being behind the lines there. So Jahmi'us Ramsey is the 6'4" guard from Texas Tech. That is my number 2 hidden gem. And then my third hidden gem is an unknown prospect from Israel. His name is Yam Madar. Now, Yam Madar is a 6'3" point guard. He played in the same league as Deni Avdija. He is a phenomenal defender. He's very much an energy guy in that sense. He's a pretty good playmaker overall, and he can handle the rock. Okay, so that's what are his glaring issues? Well, you take a look. He is not a shooter. Unfortunately, he did not shoot. I don't even think he shot 30% from 3. So that's a big concern in today's NBA. How much value is there in a guy that can't shoot the ball hardly at all? That's why he's a second-round prospect. But you watched him against Deni Avdija, and the tape shows that he clamped up Deni Avdija, which is widely regarded as one of the best prospects in this class. And personally, for me, he's the number 1 prospect in the class. But Yam Madar did a phenomenal job on him. He's got very active hands. He plays the passing lanes. He's able to block shots being 6'3". You go and look, and he was a consistent shot blocker somehow at the guard position. And he can also finish with some touch, a little bit of craftiness, a lot of that European flair that you would generally see from some of those guys coming over. So a lot to like about Yam Madar. He's pretty feisty on the defensive end. Reminds me a lot of Patrick Beverley. He's kind of all over the ball handler, very hands-on, very touchy. He's able to recover closeouts, and he's able to kind of stick on some of the bigger guys like Avdija's, the 6'7" frame. He can guard guys that are bigger than him. He is not afraid to guard anybody that he's tasked with, and I think that's what kind of makes him interesting. I think he could have a long career. Personally, I don't think he has that superstar potential that maybe a McDaniels could have potentially. He's just going to be a guy that carves out a long career, in my opinion. He's a guy that a lot of people don't even have being drafted. I think he's a hidden gem, and if you can get him either undrafted or in the second round, I think you're doing pretty well for yourself. I think the earliest you could kind of see him going is anywhere from that 45 to 60 range towards that end of that second round. So a lot to like about Madar in his game. Underrated ball handler, but you're not going to see the mid-ranger. You're not going to see the 3-point shot. So until he's able to kind of develop that, I'm kind of wondering, if he's going to be limited to just the playmaking role. He's not going to be a scorer. Hopefully he can develop that part of the game, because he could be a very, very dangerous prospect if he does. I think that's kind of stretching it a little bit to believe he could develop his shot, because his shot, just from watching the film, it's not great. It's not what you kind of want out of a prospect. But like I said, Yam Madar he's a project guy. He's the guy that can give you a consistent quality minutes, especially on the defensive end, and he could be a secondary playmaker on a team. And honestly, if you're a team that's struggling for playmaking, why not draft this guy in the second round and go ahead and give him a run? So just to recap here, we had Jaden McDaniels, the 6'10" forward from Washington. We had Jahmi'us Ramsey, the 6'4" guard from Texas Tech. And we had Yam Madar, the 6'3" point guard from Israel. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.